This is the Go Maluku Podcast.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Ghazali Orella here with another episode. No, it's not an episode. It's just it's a gathering point, I would say. The Green Room, UNPFII Green Room, a place where after all the events of the day, and we're talking about side events as well as the actual session as well, that we gather and share thoughts, what you've heard, what you've seen. Basically that. I apologize yesterday. It was a little bit too early. So I thought would be good to do it like right after the session. But there were so many side events. I overestimated my own ability to attract people, and underestimated how many side events there were on. So to not add to the confusion, and I hear you people that send me messages like, oh shit, I missed the green room. I apologize. So that's why we're doing it. So I pushed it to later in the day after most of the side events have been after side event rush hour, I would say. And then just have a talk, chat, wherever you want to talk about. You can just hit the link. It is in the comments as well as in the description. Anything that you want to say or want to contribute, by all means, just drop in. You can do it audio only, obviously, or just like myself, put your face on the camera. I'm fine with that as well. People from the likes of, here we go, Carson Kiburo and Pirita, another good friend of mine. Let's do it like this, much better. All right. So let me do this intro spiel a little bit, and then Carson, Pirita, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to address, just share, drop thoughts, wisdom, I'm sure as well. Or own observations. So for people that have just tuned in, this is day 3 of the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, the 20th virtual session. And today was all about COVID-19, the pandemic. That was the report of the expert group meeting on the theme Indigenous Peoples and Pandemics. So it's not just the COVID-19 pandemic, but also Ebola pandemic and many more pandemics or epidemics as well. The future work of the Permanent Forum, including issues considered by the Economic and Social Council on emerging issues, which is a standing agenda item. Basically, people, bringing forward issues that the Permanent Forum should be addressing in the near future. But this one was specifically challenges related to challenges on regarding the pandemics and response to them. And there was also the study on the rights of Indigenous peoples in Latin America and the Caribbean in the context of the exceptional measures adopted during the pandemic. And exceptional is not I wouldn't say it's a good thing. It is a extraordinary measures that states have been using, somewhat at odds with the rights of Indigenous peoples, most of them. And Carson can very much relate that we had this conversation last year when we were gearing up for this whole COVID-19 thing, and that we were afraid for the measures that would be imposed on Indigenous peoples or on peoples in general, but also on Indigenous peoples that would be at odds or with the human rights and the rights of Indigenous peoples. Much has been said. Something that stood out for me, at least, if you don't even go, I'm not even going into the content of the conversation, the contributions. What really stood out for me today was, and yesterday, was the lack of time. 2 minutes. You cannot. It's too difficult to say in 2 minutes what you want to say, and I get that there's time is too short, but people were cut off. People were so much cut off. So one observation, as well as recommendations. I did not hear any recommendations that the Permanent Forum can use in terms of they want to have like smart recommendations that are according to the SMART criteria. And those are two things that stood out for me. And I've been listening to many side events. I've been jumping back and forth with side events as well. But that's how I experienced today. Pirita, let's start with you. Did you even have time to follow the Permanent Forum? I know you're a busy lady. You have so many things to do. There should be a question. Yeah, but
sorry, now you can actually hear me. No, I haven't had time to listen to anything really. I listened to one session for maybe 30 seconds, then I have to cut off. I managed to dial into the side event by the Sami Council and a couple of the organizers. I missed the first part entirely, and then I was able to listen to part of the discussion on the truth and reconciliation processes on the Norwegian side and in the indigenous world more widely. So I was unfortunately only able to listen to topics that are very close to what we do anyway with the Sami parliament on the Finnish side. So I've been missing out on a lot of the things, and I regret that. But that seems to happen even during the normal permanent forum times. I never managed to participate because I was too profession in mergers and acquisitions. We're really busy, but I'm really hoping to try and find some time. And that's really my question. What have I missed? And then my second question is, what have been the explanations for these 2-minute slots that have been allocated to people? Like, what is the explanation? And what I also heard was that, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but this is what I heard, that some people feel that there's too much time allocated to everyone else except Indigenous peoples representatives speaking in this event. So just wondering about this. It's not nice to hear that there's not enough time to discuss when this is really the place where we need to have the discussions.
Yeah. Carson, you want to jump in on that? I know you have some observations as well.
Yeah. Purita, pleasure to see you. I hope you guys can hear me.
Perfect.
Fantastic. So it's my first time speaking with Purita, but Kazali, we've been speaking almost every day. So when I see the background that you've put, it's beautiful, but no one is in. It's empty. It's empty, and I can just imagine how we've always been seated there, chatting. I can imagine even to yesterday when they were just opening. There's a lot of talking, meeting new friends, and all that. But well, this is the new thing, and I now think that we're almost in the hallways of the UN. And this chat right now is almost like we are on at Vienna Cafe trying to have this conversation. Let me jump into Peter's idea. Well, I think the first thing that I am also shocked as well, Gasali, is the 3 minutes that we're used to. I cannot imagine how they decided to have the 2 minutes. I still um, I still don't think that it was a good idea to give to the to the indigenous peoples speakers 2 minutes because it's considering that there's a difference between uh, connections. Sometimes people lose audio connections. There's a speed at which you want to read your statement, and considering that they are translators and all that, it's a huge challenge. Well, I also think that the side events are too much, and they are very much important as well. Just as usual, there are so many of them, but almost all of them are super important. And the other challenge that I see right now, a very big challenge, is the difference in time zones. I'm finding it hard to adjust. I look at my time right now, and the events going on, and the time in New York is
3 p.m.
yeah, 3:15 p.m. And I have some events that I really want to listen to at 6 p.m. New York time. That will be very late for me. I know that's not everyone's fault, but we have to adjust to the new um the new normal, the new things. Yeah, giving it back to you, the mic. Just that was the first thing that I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Carson, let me park a question with you then. Is this a new normal in terms of like
Mm.
how you do meetings? And let me give you a little bit of time to think about that, because you're also, I'm in a conversation with two media savvy people, so I really have to like watch out with what I'm saying. But also like I get to ask questions that, because media is something that and how should I put it? Distribution, content creation and distribution is something that I'm very conscious of, and that I think at least Indigenous people should be doing way more. But I think that we can talk about that a little bit more down the conversation. Yeah. All right, Peter, what you missed. First of all, the session itself, and I've what I usually do, because I multitask, so that's why I bought this big computer, so I can do multiple things at the same time. So I write statements, I do my own work, and then with in my corner I see a little bit of the session itself, and I have a document open where and I make any notes of anything that I find that are very remarkable. So you had a wide range of organizations that took the floor on this. The agenda item is called is focused on COVID-19, and mostly Indigenous peoples were talking, and states as well. They were talking about vaccinations and vaccines and the lack of infrastructure, and so that was the core message, I would say, that Indigenous people need to be getting their vaccines. They're not getting enough for the entire community. But you did see, and which I find interesting because there's not enough talk about that. Some organizations and mostly Indigenous peoples, they were talking about the recognition of Indigenous medicine or lifestyle changes, things that we can do to strengthen ourselves or into our immune system and everything else, as another also an answer to fighting COVID-19. So that's what I heard in the conversation. Yeah, lots of talk about vaccines. There was this concern about recovery. All right, so we're now in this COVID-19 pandemic. Everything is lockdown, quarantine, and the concern is, all right, how do we recover from all this? People were talking about build back better, and this would have been used at the opening ceremony, and many more people have been using it. The question is, what kind of recovery are we looking at? I heard someone talking about not just a recovery, but a rights-based recovery. That the rights of Indigenous peoples are now is super important. That the rights of Indigenous peoples are respected and implemented as part of the recovery process. There was some interesting. There was talk about, for example, there was a talk about vaccine passports, whether that is helpful or not, whether that we should be, whether that is in line with self-determination or privacy, or if it's at odds with self-determination or privacy. But at the end of the day, it should not lead to deprivation of the rights of Indigenous peoples. That is one of the expert members said of the Perma Forum. Also, what's interesting were two statements that were off topic but spoke to the truth of Indigenous peoples. And there was Indigenous peoples in Bolivia. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but they would talk about genocide in their communities or in the peoples, against their peoples. It was off topic, but it was a truthful testimony or intervention that about the situation that they're facing right now, as well as the Caripuna representative, also in Latin America, talking about invaders of their land. They need to be removed because otherwise, and because they are also victims of genocide. So you had a wide range of interventions, at least that what I heard. A lot of statements from states as well, and one of the how should I say it? I would say it was heavy towards Russian speaking. There was a lot of Russian speaking interventions in Russia. So I don't know if that is on purpose or if that people were just a lot of Russian speaking Indigenous peoples were signing up. If that's the case, then it's super cool. So, and then you had all these side events. There were so many side events, Carson. I don't know how many you've been able to participate in, but looking at my calendar right now, because I DOSIP, props to you guys. They put everything into a calendar, like an iCal, a Google Calendar link, so that you can import it into your own calendar app. And it is crazy stuff. So in one time slot, I have like 3 to 4 side events that are super interesting, and there's like the whole day. And like Carson said, it can lead until like 1 or 2 a.m. In the morning for Carson and PDT and myself. That's what's been happening. In terms of why the 2 minutes, they have so it's from. It's 2 hours, 3 hours that they can, there's a time allotted to them. I think they also have to take into account interpretation because they will not go into overtime, the interpreters. However, there was, it's brutal. It's brutal how Indigenous peoples, either they speed up their statement so that they can, it's almost like a rap session that they're trying to wrap their way through the statement for 2 minutes, or they get cut off. And right before, and in some speeches that I was listening to, in some speeches, they were like right getting into the recommendation, which is for the permanent forum the most important part of their statement, so that the permanent forum knows what they have to do, or what Indigenous people want them to do. And it's automatically what I've seen is automatically it gets cut off at 2 minutes. What I think is happening is that once the chair says, all right, now you have the floor, your time starts. So there's so many technical difficulties and glitches that once you start with, so the 2 minutes, so she says, all right, you have the floor. And obviously, the person needs to be found in the list of on Zoom or whatever, and that takes like 5 to 10 seconds. But it's only 5 to 10 seconds of your time that you won't get back.
Exactly.
So that is a super challenge for a lot of Indigenous peoples. So people that I train or help with the statements, I already told them scale it down to 1 minute and 45 minutes. 1 minute 45 seconds. Take into account that they need to find time or audio difficulties, whatever that can be a part of it, so that you won't get cut off at the 2 minute mark, because that is I think in regular sessions, normal sessions, the chair could say like, please conclude your statement, because you could hear like they're moving towards the recommendations. And now you can see like 2 minutes. It is again, you can see it in 2 ways. One, obviously, 2 minutes is way too short. On the other hand, you could also say, devil's advocate, you could also say, let's try to really say what I want to say in 2 minutes, what I can say, really capitalize on the 2 minutes, maybe not a brief history lesson, maybe not an introduction or congratulations, Madam Chair, with your election, blah, 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 blah. Maybe just go straight to the recommendations or your intervention. So there are two thoughts I have about that. And yeah, and there's just also taking it. I just realized that there's of the speakers list. There's I know that there's so many Indigenous peoples that want to address the Permanent Forum, but they didn't get the chance to do so. So yeah, it's heartbreaking actually to know that. And props to those that did, and respect to a lot of Indigenous people that did get on the speakers list and did get to present their statements. You also know that, while also knowing that there's a lot of Indigenous people that do not get to speak, did not get the invitation to join the speakers list. So that's a little bit of my reflection on the 2 minutes. And yeah, it's actually continuation of the in-person meetings. If you look at it, your point that you made, Peter, is very well spoken. Is that in the in-person meetings, one of the concerns from Indigenous people was always that states spoke too much, as well as the expert members spoke too much, taking away time because they don't have expert members don't really have a time limit. States take the time limit and then some, and Indigenous peoples have to stick to the time limit. I can see the frustration, and I think what I see is that this frustration is being fed because what you see now in these virtual meetings, that there's not really a change in that. Yeah.
Well, I guess the big message then is to be really front-loaded with your speeches this year. I'm a huge fan of front-loaded messages anyway, and it's probably because I used to be a journalist and a boss of journalists, and that's how you communicate in journalism. You tell the most important thing up front. So I guess that's the brutal kind of advice to anyone having the chance to address the forum this year. But it sounds like it's really tough. I need to tune in tomorrow to really see it myself. But hey, a question.
Sure.
You probably have quite a good visibility into the various media that usually cover Indigenous issues. And this year that everything is virtual, or at least semi-virtual, you would think that all sorts of media would cover this event, and it would be quite easy to cover this event because you can just tune in to everything. And also if there are lists like the one you were describing, that you can actually kind of feed all the side events into your electronic calendar, it should be fairly easy for journalists to follow the events. And I must say, from my own community, I have seen one piece of news in our own media, and unfortunately for me, who already knew that the forum is starting and I knew the theme because of our discussions, that piece of news did not give any information or any use for me. I was hoping that it would give a really good summary of all the sessions, which we should definitely not miss, who are the Sami people speaking, what are the Sami organized side events, how is the Sami parliament involved, how are the Arctic Indigenous peoples, what about the other Indigenous peoples, how are we addressing COVID-19 and so on. This is the kind of journalism that would have helped me as someone who's really interested in Indigenous issues, who's interested in the Permanent Forum, but who's unfortunately doesn't have time to do the research myself. So how is it in the other Indigenous communities? And then looking even beyond, kind of the major media, other media covering the forum.
Yeah. Carson, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think I lost you for a moment. I lost my connection, and I don't know for how many seconds, but
No, so the question is the media attention on the Permanent Forum and the many events that are ongoing and the issues that Indigenous peoples are bringing forward do you see any media attention maybe in Kenya, or maybe a little bit broader because you're also part of the Youth Caucus? Do you see any media inquiries you see passing by, or anything towards that end? Any thoughts on that? Any observations?
Yeah, there was some in our media houses written in newspapers about, actually last year, but I haven't seen this year, and I wouldn't say that they haven't written, but I just wanted to say that I saw last year when they mentioned how several meetings were either postponed or just cancelled indefinitely, and among them was the GA last year permanent forum, of course. But I haven't seen action right now of a lot of media organizations or even trying to reach out, because for some reason when we were in the UN, most of the time you would get invited for a short piece just to speak about something, and of course through email, because no, you would meet with journalists on the hallways of the at the hallways or in conference rooms, but most importantly you would get this information through emails, but this year none at all. So just like Purita said, it should be easy for journalists to pick information, because it would be something like this, and they would get written statements. I mean, the articles would be so good, and it would be direct, and you don't have to make it so big of a story or to create a storyline. Yeah, that's just to say that I haven't seen any this year.
Yeah, Carson. And one thought that I have is like, compared to previous years, and because it's virtual, there's a buzz when the Perm Forum comes to town. And also, like, when if the Perm Forum is around like the third week of April, you can already see like people promoting side events, some events, conversations, media inquiries. Um, Late March, you see it all building up, and compared to that to this year is absolutely nothing. It is you see different forum trying to leverage their social media channels. They try to doing their best to create some content around it to build some traction. But it is from Indigenous side, you see it. Or not just Indigenous side, but just in general, you don't see a buzz. You don't see that it is that build up towards the 2 weeks and at the in New York, and which now that I say this, and it just pops a thought into my mind, and also media, like when the Perm Forum goes to the New York, and you see, especially day one, and Carson, you know as well as I do, that day one is in the General Assembly Hall, and people all wear their regalia, their indigenous traditional attire, and that's when all the photos are made. That's when all the pictures are made, and interviews and everything else, and then you see like it's dozes off a little bit, the media attention. So the peak is on the first day, and then it dozes off. So like, is it maybe that it is only as interesting indigenous issues when it's as sexy as in have an indigenous person in their traditional attire sitting at the General Assembly, good for the photo op, a nice story beneath it, and that instead of a indigenous person in just in normal clothes in front of a webcam, but not having the UN background. So maybe does it expose? I'm just challenging my own thoughts here. Does it expose maybe the that it's all about optics, about like how it looks like in terms of from a media standpoint, or am I am I too cynical about looking at the media side of things?
I'm very cynical too. I think it's because journalists don't get to travel to New York City. That's why they're not interested in covering this. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where, it should be really easy to cover all of this now and get a really good comprehensive view, for example, on today's topic, COVID-19. How has that influenced negatively various indigenous peoples around the world? What an amazing opportunity to get a really 360 view of what's been happening around the world and get quotes and so on, and then maybe reach some of the people who made statements and ask further questions from them and so on. So I'd really like to see this kind of in-depth media coverage and reporting that is also catered to us, so that we would get to the details and to the in-depth understanding of what's being discussed today, for example, instead of being only on this superficial level, saying, "Oh wow, see these colorful clothes that are filling up the UN rooms and da la la," which is, it doesn't add any value. This kind of reporting doesn't add any value to us in terms of content. Of course, it's attention, but it doesn't add any understanding, and it's not catered to us. And this year, I thought that there would be more coverage, or maybe there will be. Maybe there are some journalists listening, or maybe they will hear my regards. But this is really now a good time to show what you can do.
Yeah, jumping in as well. I think Pirita, as a media practitioner for a very long time, said it all. I would add something as well. The most important thing that puts away journalists is the parts associated with traveling to the headquarters of the UN, being around the UN, and taking the those beautiful photos, identifying speakers as well. But then again, that would be my solution and the idea that I'm thinking right now. The permanent forum should have activated something sort of this one, like the StreamYard right now, and then put it in the back end of the media zone that we usually use. And then we can utilize that media zone and speak about our own issues. And this is something that has come out so clearly even in the past events, that indigenous peoples should always tell their stories in their own view, in their own world, rather than waiting for outside media to tell their stories or their challenges, their
Mm.
issues within their communities. And this is coming out this time round in this uncertain permanent forum. I mean, abnormal, so to use such words, and sorry to the UN. I know they're doing a great job, but just to say that due to the challenges that we have right now, this is the moment, and I challenge the brothers and sisters listening in this call, the indigenous persons, let us strengthen our media campaigns, our media outreach, and put out tools that we have at our disposal, improve on our creativity. Look at what this brother has done. Ghazali, you've been at the forefront since last year during the pandemic. I mean, when the pandemic hit, and you've done a great job in showing us the way. And I think this is the way. Let's tell our stories instead of waiting for Washington Post, Huffington Post, or local media like the Nation in Kenya, Nation Media, or Standard. Those are the two major ones. Instead of waiting for those guys, let's tell our own stories. Let's create. Yeah. And also this, I see someone has written CNN.
That's Carson
I
News Network.
know, I
Yeah, I
know,
couldn't
I
agree
know.
more with what you're saying. And, we have our own media, and I'm challenging, for example, the Sami media in 3 countries to actually cover the permanent forum that now that it is virtual. And, we have national reach within the Nordic countries. And there are even opportunities to publish in English. So all the tools are there. Just use them, please.
And they
Mm.
can
It's not
access,
that
and they can
hard, I guess,
access,
to run the operation. I know.
and they can access the UN credentials, everything. I mean, like not the physical ones, but they can access the information just as indigenous media, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yes.
Mm.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
they should.
Yeah, and there's if you look at the list of side events, it is crazy. There's so many events on today alone. There's over 23 side events that I know of, and and there's 23 today, probably tomorrow as well. And you have access to so many insights, to so many stories, and people on so many topics as well. I today, for example, like Pirita said, I was for a little bit in the Truth and Reconciliation side event, and then for a while I sat in the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization side event, and there's I had to like manage my time. Like, all right, now I want to jump to this one, to that one, access to vaccinations. And there's so many side events going on. So there's literally no excuse. There's no excuse for interested people, researchers, which includes researchers, academics, as well as media, to not engage with Indigenous peoples on these various topics. And we're doing what we can. We're doing what we can, and it is my hope though that we will step away from Zoom as soon as possible, because Zoom is still like a gated community. Like you need to register and your email address and everything else. And I'd like to have it out in the open, like this. Like you just click on it and you open YouTube or Facebook or Twitter and you see my ugly face, and so it is more open. So I would like to see that more happening. But I 100% agree. All right, why? Yeah, this is a good question though. Why are we? What do we need, or why haven't we done that yet? Taking charge of our own media, content creation, distribution. What is stopping us from Indigenous peoples in general from doing that?
A good question. I guess one answer is that we're so busy with other things that if we also have to, do the communications, all of that, it doesn't happen just like that. You have to put in a lot of effort, unless you're very, very skilled like Ghazali, who's the master of all sorts of online tools and so on. I'm amazed by the tools that you come up with like this one. I had no idea that there is a platform like this. But if you want to do communications well, you obviously have to put in the effort and time, and that's away then from something else. And I'm a media and comms person, and I have a media and comms degree, so I'm not saying that media and communications is not important. Quite the opposite. I'm very passionate about communications, as you can see. But it can't be the job of those people who are advocating and working and doing, there's enough struggle as is. So I understand if people can't, stretch their resources too thin. But then I'm sure that, the more the different tools and so on get familiar, young people pick up on the tools and then they get interested in Indigenous issues, we probably see a lot more people who could help with that communications role. But I would also expect more from the majority media. If you think about it, the mainstream media, because this year's one of the topics is the pandemic, and it's something that we are all going through, and it's a common topic. And I'm sure that people are quite tired of the conventional perspectives to the COVID-19 pandemic, and they'd be very interested in hearing how the pandemic has affected Indigenous peoples around the world, and what are the similarities that Indigenous peoples are experiencing, and then what are the very specific circumstances. around the world. And I'm sure that people would be really interested, the audience, I mean, would be really interested in reading about this. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe we see amazing reporting tomorrow. Let's hope that tomorrow
Let's
will
hope
prove
that,
me
yeah.
wrong. But thinking that there is such a global theme that resonates with everyone and would be also an opportunity to tell about Indigenous peoples in a new way through this common theme that we all share. So I don't know what's going on, but I hope it will improve.
Corson, give us an insight, because you like wherever you go, you take a camera with you. You record as much as possible. What is the philosophy behind it? Why do you do that?
Well, yeah. First of all, I'm not trained in media. I was just born trying to do it, but my dad refused, and he said that no one in his family was going to do media or law. The two of you are already a lawyer and a media practitioner, and I was denied that, not with a bad intention. My dad said that uh, he said that media lawyers and media practitioners manipulate the truth. And so I sought from the beginning to change that narrative. And the only way was to teach myself and to do it right, to tell the story of my people. And that's how I picked it up. And I thought of teaching myself, learning through the process. And it is a resource. I mean, it requires a lot of resources. But as you have seen, because you are an inspiration to me as well, because you're using the digital media to tell the story of to empower and to build the capacity of Indigenous peoples worldwide. And so for me, well, I think that the greatest challenge, as our sister here said, is capacity. And we are so busy with other things, those of us who are in the movement already, so we're busy with advocating for the core issues that we want to talk about, while we don't have those who would want to take it professionally from where we are, or that knowledge sharing. And so I think the greatest problem that we have is intergenerational knowledge transfer, and we need to impart this knowledge to the young generation, especially uh, the elderly from the society should encourage the young people by giving them the information about their communities, the struggles, and the history, and the things that have made that community or the peoples to be strong. I would look at my own community and my own people at this moment that the Honduras, and I would say that if we had that knowledge before, we would be having a lot of material to just tell our story, because there's little about what is going on. And you find the young people being a depressed lot. And when you find them in the digital media, it's just about pouring out the complaints and everything, because there's no much information to tell. And so that has been my inspiration, to dig so much information and to tell it out there. Because even the conventional media that doesn't belong to our people will always tell the story from their own point of view. And so every time you see me with a camera, be it on my phone or just the normal professional camera, it's because I want to capture as much as possible and to study and to tell that story. That's the inspiration, and just to show that media can be used to tell the truth, not to manipulate the truth, as my own dad would say. And just to say it is that right now he's happy with what I'm doing. Thank you.
That's so great to hear. And I think that is the most important thing for being a journalist or a storyteller, that you have passion for it, and you have your own vision, how you want to do it and what you want to do. And I've seen that some of the best journalists are not those ones who have, formal education or training, for the profession, but the best journalists are those who have the passion and they really want to, either dig into, information really deep. They're into investigative journalism, or they want to tell amazing visual stories or interview people, show feelings, and so on. You really have to have that passion. I think that's a great starting point. And you can always study, down the line. I did journalism for quite some time before I did my media degree, so you can do it without degrees and so on. The passion is the most important thing. And then the second thing I want to say, about telling the truth. If there is no Indigenous perspective in the media, then that cannot be the whole truth. But of course, Western society is blind to that. They don't understand that there are other perspectives, and it's really good that there are Indigenous journalists who also go and work in mainstream media, because then they can bring that perspective from within those organizations. So I really encourage you to continue.
Thank you.
What is now? And I'm super curious about you guys are so media savvy. What is your yeah, how should I call it, like masterpiece? What like what you're super proud of? What you've created or documented? Something that you'd be like, wow, that's what I made that.
Well, I would go first. When I saw that I could do this and I had this power and the satisfaction that I got after shooting a short video, for example, give an example of an elder giving me a story of my people, and I could edit, put this. I want them to tell them in my own language that I understand, and put them the subtitles and edit all this learning by myself, the video editing and all that. Uh, I knew that there was power. There was power to tell the story of my people without diluting it. Of course, being having it so rich, and having collected a lot of information, especially before the pandemic, and I wanted to publish them in a responsible way. I established a project that I have them, and I haven't shared them yet. I shared with Joseph a few. Much thanks to Joseph team, by the way, led by um, I'll say the name later. Joseph really helped us to train. Sorry.
The executive director, the
No,
direct.
no.
Oh,
The director also helped us.
okay.
But there's another. I mean, the name is. I know this is embarrassing. I'm forgetting the
That's okay.
name. Yeah. But they taught. There was a very uh, inspiring workshop that they did for within the 7 socioeconomic and cultural regions of the UN, and uh, empowering indigenous communities to do. Oh, he's Eves is just commenting on, we underwent the same training with Eves. And you can remind me of the name
Are you
of the
trainer?
coordinator,
Oh,
the trainer. Yeah, he was the coordinator.
mm.
But I would just wanted to say that it was audiovisual and it was 5 days training. Of course, for me, I already knew, but the most important thing was having that training, the human rights aspect, taking interviews and sharing with them. So I shared a few of those clips with Joseph, but a lot of them after the project, I took them and I still store them to date. But I want to share and have some kind of a resource center for our people to see, as we also have another online resource that all the world can be able to read about, to read and listen and to view the story from our own perspective. And so that to me is already an achievement that I'm really proud of. and watch this space. It's coming out already, and Ghazali might know because over the last year we've been working on some media projects as well. Uh, though it wasn't a lot, but it was almost on the same angle. So yeah, thank you.
Well, my proudest achievement is the establishment of own Sami TV language news for the Finnish Broadcasting Company. There was already kind of the Nordic Sami TV news broadcast, but we were able to establish another one, 5 minutes every day, 5 additional minutes of Sami issues and Sami language on national TV. And it started with 300,000 viewers, and I think it's now about 500,000 every day, every weekday. And last year, when the COVID pandemic started and the lockdown started, I think the record day was 800,000 people viewing the Sami language TV news on the national channel. And I'm really proud of that. And that's probably my biggest achievement in my lifetime so far. And I'm really glad that then, I don't work in the Sami media anymore, but the staff who are continuing with it, they have expanded the broadcast from just Northern Sami to Inari and Skol Sami, which are the 2 other Sami languages spoken on the Finnish side. So it's quite amazing, like Inari Sami and Skol Sami, both are languages that are spoken by about 400 people or so. And they get to, have their news anchor about once a month for a week on national TV. So that's quite amazing.
And here's an idea. I
Ghazali,
wanted to.
Ghazali,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Carson.
Sorry, I just wanted to, sorry to cut you short. I just wanted to say to formally recognize that Fabrice Perrin from DOSEP was the man behind that training, and I'm really grateful. Sending shout outs to him and Remy as well, and the former director. We're really grateful for that training. It sort of gave me the impetus, the energy to move forward. Thank you.
No, thanks for coming back to me with not to me, come on, but like for recognizing people that helped you. I think it's super important that we that we also recognize people that helped us got us to the point where we are at right now. So really commend you for taking the time to do that, Carson. Or here's an idea that I'm walking around with, and maybe someone that's listening might be able to take that idea and then walk away with it, and which is fine as long as it happens. But I recognize what you said, Peter, that people that are on the ground are the human rights activists, and that they, let's assume that they don't have the time to get the phones out and then record it as a vlog or something, because they don't have any time to do that. They're dealing with much more difficult things. However, there's this whole thing as also an opportunity, right? It's also an opportunity to you can use it, take the time to shoot some videos or comments, podcasts, whatever. So I do recognize also that you can use it whilst you're doing the activist work. However, we're not there yet, and these people are not there yet. That in terms of consciousness, lifestyle, maybe, or conscious is a better word to describe it. That they, with their phones, they have access to the entire world, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. So in a way, just what I'm trying to say is that content creation and distribution, you have it already in your own phone. Granted, there's this media, you want to have that media attention as well, but there's this. I think here's how I see it. this whole world, the whole world right now is the world of middleman is about to disappear. So what's standing between you as indigenous peoples and the general public? Right now, mainstream media is standing between indigenous peoples and the general public. With the internet, and which includes social media, that the middleman should be afraid right now, because it is it's soon to become obsolete. And that's not just in the media. I truly believe, and this is my mindset a little bit, is that this whole middleman disappearing is not just with media or something else, but also when it comes to sovereignty, indigenous sovereignty. Indigenous peoples right now go to the UN seeking sovereignty or recognition. As soon as the indigenous peoples and or states figure out that they can do it like nation to nation mutual recognition, it puts the UN out of play, and the UN becomes very super vulnerable. So I see a move within the world that's no, sorry, not seeing, interpreting a move in the world that's eliminating the middleman. What I was going to say, to go back to media, is wouldn't it be awesome if there was an indigenous OTT, so like indigenous, like kind of Netflix kind of thing, but just for indigenous documentaries, live streams, Carson News Network, Ilisapmi, and that there's one app that streams only information and like a Netflix, but also with live streams with indigenous content, and which and that app you can also read stuff, because so that's you can. There's so many opportunities right now that I see that I would love indigenous peoples to tap into and to use to get the message out there, the struggles, the realities, as well as the how should you feel, the visions out there. At least I think it's an idea, at least. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and it would be good if it was curated as well, so that there would be people who would help viewers and listeners and readers to kind of contextualize what they're seeing. So kind of bringing in various media content and then kind of explaining it and interpreting it to various audiences. That'd be great. Having said that, I understand also many of the challenges that you face if you start live streaming or blogging or tweeting and appearing and kind of you when you're making yourself heard on social media, for example, and talking about indigenous rights, because you can really become a target of online hate, online harassment, all sorts of pressurizing and belittling and ridiculing and so on. So it's a tough spot to expose yourself to and put yourself to. And I know that many indigenous activists who are active on Twitter and other social media, go through times when it's really tough, and they get a lot of hate and harassment and all sorts of stuff online, and then they have to take some time, or kind of, you can't be out there all the time. You really, you face some really ugly stuff out there. And I've been doing some academic work on this, on indigenous freedom of speech. And that's another topic that we could discuss some other time. But I think there's a lot of work there to make sure that, also we can voice our thoughts, our opinions, tell our stories without being afraid of hate speech and harassment and so on. And there's a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely right. Carson, any experiences in that? Like, do you when you put out content, what is the general? How do people receive it, and any lessons that you've learned when you put out content.
Well, I wouldn't say that I have faced that reprisal from netizens, if I would call them. But I've seen my colleagues who've gone through. I have faced a few mild negative comments, but I've seen some of my friends who've been victimized for standing for the rights of our people. And uh, what what Purita said is true. Especially in this side of the world, people seem to be on Twitter or Facebook just to vent, and they're
Mm,
venting out of what is in their own lives. They
yeah.
see human rights defenders as special characters to disturb uh, the society the way it is, which is really wrong. And putting yourself out there to speak about the issues in the community exposes you to cyber bullies, and to some extent create some uh, internet extremists, I would say. It's happening around here in Kenya. It's so
Yeah.
much that for me, I wouldn't prefer even using Twitter, because there's a lot of negativity. Most of the information that you see out there is so negative. You would be putting something with positive vibes, or even just mentioning something that benefits the entire society. Um, but you get cyberbullied. People go personal. They go beyond the attitude of the tweet, for example. And so there are so many challenges coming with using these digital media. Um, but of course, we, as human rights defenders, especially Indigenous peoples defenders, we have to develop that thick skin, because these issues must be talked about. And if we don't do, no one else will. And no one else will say, no one else will tell our stories. There was a time that I wrote, I shared with my story with a few, uh, with a very popular media, online media channel around here, and they will have very good comments. But then again, there came some who were not impressed that I was talking about just a specific segment of the community. That why would you classify yourself like this and this and this? Your special, your issues are not so special. You see such kind of comments, and they were very negative, and they were not well intentioned. And I must admit that every now and then, before I write something, sometimes I think about how people would take it personal, even if it's not personal for me. And so there's that risk out there. But then the most important encouragement always is to tell the story, and telling as it is from my own point of view, as that person from that community, or from that people, from that nation of a people who haven't had anyone talk about their issues. And that explains why I see those people who have come before me, the leaders from my people, who came before me. They are so thick skinned in this kind of conversation that there's no comment that will shake them. They start firm belief, and I do believe that we are here because of the sum total of a lot of people who have made a lot of sacrifices, and they've lost a lot, probably a lot about their personal life, for us to, even for example, to win that case that we see. And I realized that, and I hold with very much esteem those people. And it gives me encouragement to create a new frontier to speak about our rights, especially using the new emerging media. And you've mentioned something really important, the world of the middleman. And that is very important. We don't have to talk to, for example, we may not have to talk to a conventional media journalist to tell our story. We may not have to do that, because currently a bigger percentage of my generation are online, and I just have to create a content. They already have their own content, and we have to merge whatever we're talking about, and people will listen. They're already there. Yeah, so the people are already there. They're not using. I mean, they are available on this media. This right now, probably even listening right now. I know this is your channel, Gasali, but probably they're already hooked in, and I'm so happy that that middleman to the conventional media is almost cut out, because I don't want to call names, but uh, there's a lot of corruption even in these other kind of media, the conventional media, and it's not easy to tell your story as it is. People change the narrative. It's so painful when you see the narrative being changed, and we don't want to create that. Of course, considering the theme of this year's conversation of the permanent forum, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and I see hope in taking a diplomatic language, but using a strong language to pass the message.
Um,
Hey
having
guys, before you continue, I have to drop off. I will
Sure.
listen, but I have to drop off. I have to, it's getting very late.
Sure,
I need to
yeah.
go to bed. But I'll listen in, and I'll continue listening the following days, and hopefully tomorrow I'll actually manage to listen to a couple of
No,
sessions
appreciate it.
from the forum. But
No,
hey, it was
appreciate
really
for
nice talking to
you taking
you.
the time. Yeah.
Bye.
Right. Have a
Bye
good
bye.
night.
Bye bye. Good night.
Yeah, that's what I like of that's why I did this, right? Drop in, drop off. So like you can drop in and out whenever you can.
Yeah.
I hope you have a little bit more time, Carson, to talk a little, go much deeper, a little bit deeper, not deeper into it, expand a little bit on this. Um, do you have an idea of how should I put it? Right, with your media mindset, right? So you pay a lot of attention to that. Very much you look at from the eyes of a media man, looking at the statements today, you know, trying to reel in the events of the day. 2 minutes. A lot of Indigenous peoples did not get to present their statements, or well, sorry, I should say correctly. They did get to present the statements, but they were running out of time. Anything that and Peter said before was like, for example, that the punchline or the point of your statement that you bring it to the beginning. Is it like anything else that you would recommend, as in, because that's a message that you want to convey, right? And you only have 2 minutes, and probably like in any type of media, the first couple of seconds are like the hook that you need to hook people in. Also making sure that people don't zone out. Anything that you've seen, or in the various statements, or that you've seen, or that you would like to see improved, that Indigenous peoples can use to be more effective with their time, and looking at it from a media standpoint.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. I had not thought about. I mean, conclusively thought about how, or the best practice to do to make this one work. But I'm thinking, before you jump into the recommendations, uh, make sure make sure you, of course, through the training that I've gone through before, the most important thing, and I've seen through today, is um, don't go into the situations that you want to describe. Don't describe any situation. Go straight to the point and make the recommendation. 2 minutes is really small, a short time. And considering the challenges that we have right now, you're not using um, internal audio systems like the way we would do in that all in the background, or even a conference room, those microphones. No, this is like you. I mean, we're using a virtual connection, And there are the challenges that we do have, connection challenges. There's the translators that you have to speak slowly. So consider your message into 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Mm.
The other 30 seconds that remains for the 2 minutes is give or take, like for lack of better term, uh, you would it is for you to introduce yourself, for you to, when you have a connection problem, or for you to speak slowly because of the interpretations that you want to pass. uh, I mean, for the interpreters to to get your message. uh, and that is the most important thing. Uh, so keyword is introduce yourself within the first, say, less than 10 seconds. Talk about your issue now, and then jump into the recommendations right away, because we're used to 3 minutes, but now it's only 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have like a quick fix for that, but it's, if I were to give my statement right now, I would do that. I will introduce myself within the first 10 minutes, jump into into the subject matter,
Mm-hmm.
delve into, try to sort of give some analysis. If I was to talk about, for example, human rights violations, so introduce yourself, introduce why you are talking about the human rights violation on peace, justice, and strong institutions, touching on sustainable development goal number 16. And if I was to talk about, for example, the violent extremism that is meted out on indigenous peoples from Sahel region, for
Mm.
example, talk about that issue, give a context, and jump right into the recommendations. Why do you want the UN? What do you want the UN to know? What do you want the member states to hear? That is
Mm.
sort of my quick fix for now.
Right.
But there's a lot
Yeah,
to add.
super helpful.
Yeah.
That all knowing that yeah, 2 minutes is not very long, and there's only so much that you can say in 2 minutes. Personally, I still keep a certain structure in my mind, even if it's 2 minutes. 1 minute will be cutting it too close, too short. But 2 minutes, I'll always try to have the narrative, the story, the analysis, and then the recommendations, to so that it makes sense. That the whole thing makes the statement makes sense. Because yeah, and then the problem that I saw today as well was that the recommendations were, um, and that's why I like to use the SMART criteria: specific, measurable,
Mm-hmm.
the SMART criteria, so that the parent form knows what you want it to do, knows that you have done your research, that you know how, that you know the mandate, and that the UN form knows that, yeah, that you've done your research, and as well as that it's time bound, knowing that you want to see this particular recommendation before the next session, or in 2 sessions. I've been missing that a little bit. I heard one recommendation, I think was the United Confederation of Taino People. They gave 3 recommendations. One of them was super, according to the SMART criteria, and I think we should moving towards that to make it more comprehensible for the parent forum, but also to keep them accountable. It's measurable.
Yeah.
A goal, you can't see, you can't hit, right? So you need to have a well-defined goal,
Yeah.
that you give it actually to the UN. You give to the parent forum. All right, this is the goal that I want you to hit. If you don't get to hit it, then we can come back next year and say, hold on, this is what I recommended to you, and provided that it goes into the report, of course. But yeah, it is. It would be more helpful for the current forum to for indigenous peoples to craft the recommendations with a little bit more elements in there that so that they can that is measurable
Mhm.
and that is time bound. Otherwise, it is too difficult for both indigenous peoples as well as the current forum to. You can see it already
Mhm.
for the last 19 years and 20 years then that there's a lot of recommendations and but you can see that I can imagine, let me say that I can imagine that for a rapporteur or for a chairperson that they have to go through the statements and it's to figure out what the recommendation is
Yeah.
or what type of recommendation the particular person is meant to say
Mhm.
and try to translate that into a recommendation that it can go into the final report. You
Mhm.
want to make it as easy as possible for the parent
Yeah.
form in this sense, I would say, because
Mhm.
if the recommendation is accurate, then they can also accurately help you in your situation.
Mhm.
You and address your human rights violation. So that is something that I um, listening to the many statements and you can only I can hear you thinking like, well, Ghazali, why don't you present a statement? Well, unfortunately, I did not get to got selected for the speakers list, but it's fine. You know, it is. I know that there's a whole lot more things outside of the parent forum that we can participate in, including the side events, which are and in my view also super important. Um, Carson, take us through. Did you to a side event of today, for example? Did you
Mhm.
participate in a side event as a speaker or just as
Yeah.
a listener? As a
Well,
speaker.
yeah. Today I listened a little bit about for like 20 minutes. The permanent forum. Um, but I had some work related stuff. I had to move out. Uh, but then I made it to participate in one of the side events. If Gia, they were launching. They were launching the Indigenous World publication that they usually launch for every year, and it
Yeah.
was really an important eye opening. A lot of the speakers were there. Uh, very, I would say, speakers with the panelists were with a ton of knowledge.
Hmm.
Elsa was there, and the entire FGR team, and it was just a normal setup event, sort of webinar, and I learned about the authors of a few of the chapters from a few of the regions that they had selected to speak, and yeah, it was just a launch. That is the only side event that
Hmm.
I attended today. Uh, Yesterday some events as well, and so far the most important event that I participated in was the regional one for Africa. Of course, the opening very important. I listened to Indu yesterday for such a short time. Too sad that I wasn't able to join the green. I mean the green room. I know you
That's
guys
okay.
talk about it. Yeah. Uh, but still we see some challenges in these side events as well. The greatest one is the time zone, as I had said before. And but I would still think that a lot of people are participating in this year's permanent forum, which is virtual. Of course, everyone knows that. Uh, a lot of people are participating because it's accessible wherever they are with just a connection. Even though most of indigenous peoples are not, they may not access these services, but it is possible with community halls, for example, to set up uh, listening. To just log in and listen, or even to give a statement. as a community. It's easy right now to read in front of your community your statement, but you're reading to the entire world. I see that as a possibility across the world.
Mm.
And yeah, I would say that. And tomorrow, I will be speaking. I think together we'll be in a side event as well. There's going to be another event at midnight my time. Actually, 1 a.m. Sorry, excuse me. 1 a.m. So I'm gonna have to put an alarm, go to bed, then wake up, speak, go back. That is the new normal because we have to speak. We have to speak about these issues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is it so 1 a.m.? Which side event is that one? Is that
The one that I will be with Manuel Habitat. Is it Habitat Pro? We'll be
is it
speaking
the
on
Article
Article 46.
46?
Yes, Article 46.
Oh man.
It's gonna be 1 a.m.
Oh,
my time. 1 a.m. my
I s-
time.
I see it now. Yeah, it's yeah, 12:30 a.m. my
All the
time.
way to
Yeah. Indigenous Peoples'
yeah,
Rights Beyond Article 46, a conversation with global leaders. You're one of them, obviously.
yeah,
Talking about Article 46, which is on territorial integrity and political unity.
correct.
The controversial,
Very, very, very
controversial
controversial.
provision of the declaration.
Don't
Um,
preempt. Don't preempt. Are you going to join us?
because it's past midnight. Well, obviously, I'm a night owl anyway, so
Anyway,
because not only because of this, but yeah, I'll definitely listen in. I'm super curious about the views that people have on Article 46,
yeah,
as it's I've been confronted with it several times in negotiations.
yeah.
States throwing Article 46 at me, as in
Would love to see a comment from you as well
what do you want to
uh,
know? Like
during the show. I guess you will be available as well for the Tribal Link Project Access UNDP Learning for Nature event tomorrow as well, 22nd.
yeah, we're going to show the project access online.
Yeah, what
That
time
one,
will
right?
it
Yeah.
be? What time will it
That's
be?
at least my time. It will be 7 p.m. I believe.
That should be 8:30 my time.
Yeah. So there's one
8.
p.m. Yeah, 1 p.m. in New York.
Yeah,
From 2:30. The side event on Indigenous Peoples at the United Nations course,
yeah,
organized by the UNDP Learning for Nature Tribal Link Foundation of the
yeah,
late our dear friend, ally, as well
yeah,
as mentor and fairy
yeah,
godmother,
yeah.
Pamela Craft. Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's several things. So I have that one, and then
Mhm.
Green Room, obviously, and
Yeah.
then in the middle of the night, I'll listen to you. Hey, by all means, hey, don't be mad at me. I'll probably listen in, and I'll put my
No
camera
pressure.
on
No pressure. No pressure, my
off.
brother. No pressure. This is the moment that we all have to understand each other. It's not easy,
Mm,
and feel no pressure at all. Like all the most important thing, most of these things are recorded, and you can still listen to them later at any time of your choosing. And that's what I'm doing as well. Where I can't, I cannot make it like so I mean like I can make it.
mm.
It's not like intentional, so don't feel any pressure like you really have to attend. No, no, no.
Well, it is also a training. I should also see it as a training because next week on a Tuesday, I believe. Yeah,
Mhm.
Tuesday on a Wednesday. I have a side event at 2 a.m.
Your time.
My time. My time. Yeah,
That's 3 a.m. my time.
I know. Oh yeah.
Like,
So it is on the it's with a organized by it's organizing it right now. Haven't finalized it yet. But it's on Tuesday, 2 a.m. With some,
yeah,
and I have to speak as well. So not just listen in, but I have to speak.
Mhm.
I'm one of the panelists.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. And I'm just help me out with this one, Carson. Should I? Because it's like with some dignitaries in the conversation as
Uh-huh.
well in the side
Uh-huh.
event. So
What is it
given
all
that it's,
about?
it is on the General Assembly, the UN General
Okay,
Assembly.
and okay, I'll throw it out. How do you want my help? How do you want me to help you?
All
Sorry.
right. Can I use just a sweater, or do I really have to put on a shirt and a suit and everything else?
No.
Because it's 2 a.m., man. It is.
Do you know what you have to do?
I love to do the work, but oof.
Okay, I saw like, all right, let me not mention that, but be you. What do you think you should do?
Turn my
Right.
camera off. Not kidding.
So what do you need to do? Don't put on a tie. Most importantly, forget
Oh,
about a tie.
100%. Yeah, I'm going
Put on
to.
a shirt. Put on a shirt.
And
Just
by the way,
yeah.
like now that we're talking about it, like isn't it there like a slight possibility that the people that are showing into the Zoom, with a shirt and not a tie, well, and a tie and a jacket, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm prone to say that there's a percentage out there, maybe 20 to 30%, that's not wearing pants at a Zoom in a Zoom. I genuinely believe
that is almost true, because no one is gonna stand up right now. I wouldn't stand up, but
yeah,
you don't know anything.
everyone is.
Yeah, you're seated. So I mean, you're seated. No one is looking at you,
Yeah.
except that I saw a Russian diplomat yesterday was reading a statement, and he was with his family. In a table.
I saw that one. Yeah, at a dinner table. I saw that
Yes,
one too.
I loved it. And there was another woman. I don't know if it was. I couldn't listen to the translation, but I don't know if it was his wife or part of the delegation. But I loved it. I loved everything that I saw in that photo. So this is
Yeah.
the new normal. Like, you don't have to put on a lot of put the academic background or everything. Just be
Which you
you.
also saw. You also saw that there was
Yes.
people that putting a lot of like almost like a Obama address with flags and everything else behind them. So people are getting very resourceful and very, very creative with that.
And I like that as well.
100%.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the people that they really. Here's how I think about it. All right, let's describe that situation, because I saw it too, and I've been talking to Kenneth Deere about it in a chat, or like one-on-one conversation. And I said, if ever I had to, or had the ability to give out an award for best setting to present a statement, that will be it. All right, for people that have not seen it, it is it's almost like you interrupted a dinner table conversation. It's in the kitchen. There are 3 people sitting at a dinner table, and there was a lady in a what seems like a traditional outfit in the background, and a kid playing around or walking around as well. Something with a telephone. Thing with a telephone. So it looked super homely, as if you and Thomas said it, like it's almost like we broke into their dinner table conversation. So, oh, by the way, the camera's on. All right, yeah. And then the gentleman gave his speech, and I forgot the name of the organization, but what I do remember is the whole setting of it all. So if ever there's we could give an award to like the best setting, then that will be definitely it. And I hope that people that are able to trump that, like to go over that, because people you see, and I agree with you, Carson. The fun of it is also you get people to see they really put effort into the framing into the setting, what goes on camera.
Yeah.
There's one, I think it's from Venezuela or Colombia. I cannot remember exactly,
Yeah.
but there was
Yeah.
a whole delegation, like a table, and there was a delegation sitting behind it with flags and everything else. It's almost like it's a official remark or official negotiation. So
I think I saw that as well.
saw that too.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
And there's one, and then there's also one that looked like a little bit like Obama meets Queen Elizabeth, and I know this is a very weird combination, but I think it was the remarks made by I think representative of the Ukraine, Ukraine, and he was sitting like at the edge of a table and talking, and there was a lady. And usually with the UN, they have their own interpreters, but this lady was interpreting for him. Was interpreting him in the in the same setting. So like it didn't go through the UN INTERPREFI system, but he had his own interpreter with him. So like people are getting super resourceful, but you also have people that just like sit at a couch, sit on the couch and they just talk. There's one that's just sitting underneath a tree.
What?
I love that.
You know what? I already have a recommendation for you. The solution is just pick. You see, right now, I think there was a moment, and sorry that I'm cutting you short. I'm just excited to give you the recommendation.
Go ahead.
Next week, when you're going to be speaking, remember last year you used to speak when we were doing the How to Indigenous for the Now series. You used to speak on a couch. I want you to do that tomorrow. The problem is your setting. It's the setup right now. You have a lot of screens. You have another screen that you listen. You're writing your notes and everything. All right, but I'm just thinking, it was so good. It meant that people are at home, but they're still doing their work. That was a very good background, even though you are really far. Like, yeah, but you will just be making your statement. Once you make your statement, you go back to your table where you are right now. Yeah, and then put on the UN hoodie, or you put on a sweatshirt, something sort of something simple. You're at home. You make your point. If you have a traditional attire, for example, the one that you are using, the one that you put on for our official photo session during the Project Access 2019, I'll try putting something like that on top of on your neck, and then you make a statement because you have your traditional attire. You have your traditional ornament, at least one of them. Make your statement, and if you have to go back to this table that you're in right now, you can do that, and now you can, if you want to ask, if people would want to ask you a question, you've already taken your stage. That is sort of your stage.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense.
I had wasn't at the Perm Forum, but I was at the ocean negotiations. I had to speak once, and we don't use Zoom. We use WebEx, which is a fancy Zoom version, a fancy kind of Zoom. And but like it also had the possibility to do backgrounds. So I needed to find a way to get people's attention, like so that they in the beginning that they know that people knew me, that they knew who I was, not before I even said one word. So I was thinking about it, and this is ocean. Yeah, I call it ocean negotiation, but it's actually not. It's just informal conversations. They just negotiators talking to one another. But still, like you want to get, and you want to break the ice as well. So I made so I want I used Canva, and I use it a lot, and I created a background for myself, which said definitely wearing pants. and I put that on my background. So and made it so bright and purple as it could get. So when we went live with the WebEx conversation, people just tuning in, and I also did this dark skinned guy with a purple background, which said definitely wearing pants, and and you could just see like people like just like you could see people like looking at the screen as in like, all right,
Yeah.
who's online, and then they see this rectangle that's purple, and they see this definitely wearing pants. So you see them smile and laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was
Mhm.
my way of breaking the ice with WebEx. Or I used my Star Wars background. I don't
Yeah.
care. I love Star Wars.
Yeah, and I like that background as well, the Star Wars one. And just to comment on the WebEx idea, that was really cool because you brought the attention. There was the light moment, and
Mm.
then boom, you are going to speak. That was the
Yeah.
moment.
Or you
And
like yeah.
also I'm not a fan of. I mean, I haven't. I'm not an avid follower of Star Wars, but I like that background that you usually put in the Star Wars, especially when you are the. Is it a pilot cockpit or something?
Yeah. It's called the Millennium Falcon, and there's two pilots, one vacant seat, so that's your seat, and then the other
Yeah.
seat is, you see that this big hairy guy, a beast
Mhm.
called Chewbacca or Chewie, and just talking to you, and like it's a
Yeah.
moving background, so it is. So
I love
it's
it.
kind
I
of
love
funny.
it. Yeah, I love it. And I've seen it with you and who's the other guy? Yeah, there's another person who has used it before. So Victor. I think it's Victor.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It's you know what funny is? There's
yeah.
a lot of Star Wars fans within the United Nations. I
I
kid you
think I
not.
should start. I think I should start watching
Watching
Star
it,
Wars.
yeah. I
I
like
won't
it.
begin.
It is like baseball cards, man. Like, it is like people can
Yeah.
talk endlessly about it, and I cannot say it right now, but there is
Say it, man.
there's a group. There's a group,
Yeah.
like a WhatsApp kind of group.
Mhm.
That's like with people that work a lot in the UN, and is only talk about Star Wars.
Really?
Only talking about Star Wars. Yeah.
Man, that
Right.
reminds
That's
me
all.
of that reminds me of last year. And it was 20th of April,
Hmm.
and we were with Victor Lopez, from Sharks Creek tribe, my fellow coach here, a wonderful friend and a brother. And Victor was telling me that I think they were launching. Um, there was a movie that was premiering, and Victor was telling me that we go to was it Queens or uh, yeah, he was just telling me what is that the highland that is opposite the UN,
So
directly up.
there's Roosevelt Island. It's in between, and then you have Long Island. So which
No, no,
is
it was
on the other side of the East
I think
River.
it was Long Island, and
Okay.
then I was super super tired from the organizing side events, and I'm used to giving myself a lot of pressure to attend side events and bilaterals, meeting with people, and then by the end of the day, and I think it was around 7 p.m., we were at Kits. Victor tells me that you have to go to this event, man. Like we're going to meet with my friends from there was a time that he was in the university at the what do we call this college, anyway, there was a time that he was in New York,
Hmm.
and he was going to meet some of his friends, and he was telling me we have to go there, uh, and that reminds me of that movie because I think it was I don't know why I keep forgetting because I'm not a fan of it.
Hmm.
And I was about to begin watching it, but I just because we were going to watch that movie and then go to unwind so that we come back to the UN feeling afresh. And
Hmm.
you see, that is the beauty of going to New York now, because we miss that. After this, right now, I'm going to bed, and then you don't get to go to kids to sing.
Oh boy, yeah. Like, um, I follow Keats on Instagram
Me too.
and Facebook, and I miss it so much. Or people that are watching and listening, Keats is AKA the Sami Embassy or the Indigenous
Yeah.
Embassy. It is a karaoke bar in in New York, on just off Second Avenue. Um, and it is the place, like, basically it's the green room, but then like the actual green room. So and these people, they go there after a meeting, or even
Yeah.
during a meeting as well.
Mhm.
To unwind, and we stay there, like, oh my god, until until the end. And it's a karaoke bar, and
Yeah.
there's every night there's karaoke, and
With Sean.
with Sean,
Sean.
he's been there
Yeah.
forever, man. Sean has
Yeah.
been
I've
there
never seen.
forever.
He's so great, and I don't know. It's just good, especially with the new jack swing when he does it.
Mm, yeah.
Sean is just great. I miss kids, man, and yeah. So I mean, like, I'm really grateful to you for doing this. This is a way that we speak about these issues. We relieve the experience, and I wish we were just so many of us to share the experiences of today's events, to unwind, and in remembrance of our dear friend and godmother, Pam. uh, she would tell me that either we meet at the always of the UN. You see the always outside conference room 11, I think 7 and something. Just after after the main entrance, all the hallway where when you exit to the right, you head
Hmm.
towards Vienna Cafe,
Yeah.
and Pamela would always sit on those seats, the bars, and she would wait patiently. If you were
Mm.
making your statement, you come back. She'd say, "Oh, there is Carson." Then we sit down, and she would ask me how the day went and everything. I'm just saying that we meet such kind of people that have always made us who we are, and I'm grateful to have met Pam. And so it's either we meet at, because she wasn't going to kids, we would meet at John's coffee shop,
I
which
saw
is
her
also
once at
another
Keats though.
great event. Yes.
I saw her once at Keats. Yeah. I was
Really?
surprised. I
You
was
were
surprised.
surprised?
Yes.
What
She
time?
was
What
there.
time? What time? What time? What time was
It
it?
was right after the meeting though. It was right after the meeting. I just walked in like, Pam.
Are you here?
Hi.
Really?
Yeah. She didn't stay long, and then obviously,
Yeah.
but obviously John's Cafe is her place
Yeah. John's coffee
to
shop.
go. Yeah. I remember, what was it? So I had to I was in New York for 6 months in 2014, for a longer time.
Mhm.
And I remember the first, I landed in New York, went to the apartment, dropped my bags, called Pam, all right,
Mhm.
and said, well, I'm here, I'm in
Mhm.
New York.
Mhm.
And she immediately said, all right, John's Cafe, in an hour.
That's what she used to tell me too. Like,
That's it.
John's
Yeah.
coffee shop. Yeah. And it was just a great moment. So, uh, bro, I'm gonna have to drop off. It's getting late.
It's getting late. Yeah.
I have to prepare my statement for Article 46. We're not talking about it today, and
Yeah.
I have
Anything that I can help you with?
yeah, I will share with you
Yeah.
in our other informal conversations.
Not online. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Sure.
and it's been great. I thought I was going to just speak for like 40 minutes. I never expected that it was going to take this long.
It's
And
almost 2 hours. Yeah.
yeah, to Purita as well. It's been amazing. And I have never been in, probably we've spoken together with, I mean, in the same room with Purita, but I've not in this sort of conversation. Uh, Pleasure. It's been pleasure as well. And I look forward to more conversations with all of us, our brothers and sisters listening in this call as well. I mean,
Yeah.
in this green room, it's not call.
No, it's not a
And
call. It's just a green room.
yes, 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 yes. So over to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Carson. Yeah, I'll call it a day as well because it's been a long day, and there's some side events that I still want to catch. So
Mhm.
and I haven't had dinner yet, so I also have to like get a bite to eat at some point. All right, yeah. So this is a green room, and tomorrow there's on the agenda is at least for Perm Forum, not for the green room. For Perm Forum is the on human rights discussion with dialogue with the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, as well as the Expert
Correct.
Mechanism on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, as well as the UN Voluntary Fund on Indigenous Peoples.
Tomorrow? What time?
Yeah, tomorrow.
What time?
The the session itself is normally as from 1 till 3 p.m. my time.
Mhm.
So that's 9 till 11 a.m. New York time. And then the green room is, as always, at from was it 3 p.m. New York time or 9 p.m. Amsterdam, Paris, and Rome time. So yeah, man, thank you so much for sticking out with me in the green room. Pirita as
Thank
well,
you.
super learned a lot as well from
Yeah,
two media savvy people. Don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
definitely. I hope to get enough energy to listen tomorrow on the green room. I'll tune in.
Yeah. All right. Cool, man.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. All right, man. Have a great day, morning, nights, evening, wherever you are. And Carson, I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye bye. Bye
All
bye,
right, man.
everyone.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.